I'm Heather.
And I'm Desiree.
And you're listening to
the Perpetually Overdue Podcast. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Perpetually Overdue Podcast. I am Desiree.
And I'm Heather.
And this week, we are gonna have a little fun and talk about what I feel like many probably can relate to, and that is movies versus real life. How many of us grew up watching certain experiences in movies and really thought that when we would have them, they would maybe not be identical, but generally
close enough.
Yeah. And then realized, no, that was not the case. And so we're going to talk about a few of those today.
Now, for me, I definitely am capable of separating fact from fiction. It's not really about the super exaggerated, very obviously unrealistic parts of movies. I think for me growing up, the main thing, and maybe you could attest to this as well, is the relationships that to me were viewed as being unrealistic. I have not complaints, but I have like a few things that I'm sick of seeing because I do feel like it's very unrealistic, and I do feel like it sets unrealistic standards or expectations for other people.
So it was funny coming up with like some of the different types of experiences and things, looking up just some thematic stuff. Relationships definitely is one of them. But then there was also like overarching themes that I had a very different idea of what it would look like, and that is because of movies. And one of those was when I was younger, the high school experience.
Oh, that's a good one.
Movies paint such an unrealistic picture, and even in the little things like lockers and what lockers look like, how they function, how like hallways function, classrooms, teacher experiences. Like there was this whole clothing, friendships, circles. Like there was so many things that before going to high school, I was excited to experience. And I grew up in a big city.
Yes, both did.
So I assumed not every like smaller town would maybe have the movie high school experience. But I thought, okay, our school, mine specifically, like I think my graduating class was over 2,000 people, whereas that's usually the entire high school in smaller towns. So when I finally got to high school, I had a very specific expectation after seeing so many various movies with high school life and what it looked like.
Oh, totally.
And yeah, my high school pretty much, one, felt like a prison. Two, was not as nice, was not nearly as like decorated. The lockers were this tiny, and for those who are not watching, only barely maybe a few inches bigger than my head. And there was just so many little things that when I finally got there, I was like,
Yeah, no, I agree. First of all, most of the high schools that they film in are like these beautiful historical high schools. And then you had the dawn of brutalism, which is the architecture that you mostly see in America, the very cold, gray office building type buildings. And then that's how our schools were created. So in Miami, we didn't have any like beautiful historical cobblestone, whatever type of high schools, especially because, like Desiree said, we had a lot of students. Like for my high school graduation, we actually did it at the convention center, Miami Convention Center, because that's how big our class
did too.
was.
Yeah,
exactly. Meanwhile, I think Nick, my husband, he comes from a small town. He had his high school graduation in their gymnasium.
No.
So that just goes, yes. That just goes to show the difference.
Yeah.
But
That's another thing. Sorry, gym class.
No.
We'll talk about that. Go on.
Oh yeah, oh my gosh. So the locker experience, the look of the high school, totally agree, completely different, very cold, sterile, gray buildings, nothing exciting about it. Everything is utilitarian, nothing is beautiful or aesthetic. We didn't even have lockers, and I went to a brand new high school. I came in as a freshman. We were the first full graduating class that did all 4 years in that high school. we didn't have any lockers. So I never got the locker experience. Not even in middle school did I get. I know, because I wanted to go to this one middle school and I knew that they had lockers there. They built a brand new middle school. And even though I could see the one I wanted to go to literally from my house, the fucking line, the districting line, was literally the line that was in front of my complex.
Oh my
so like
gosh.
everything, right.
Everything the light touches.
Yeah, it was Kendall Drive. Kendall Drive was the line.
Oh my god.
So everything this way of Kendall Drive, you went to the new middle school, even though it was far away for me. Yeah, I could have walked to the middle school I wanted to go to. So I was really pissed because I never got that locker experience of opening up a locker, putting your books in, decorating it how you want to.
Oh my god, there was no decoration whatsoever possible with our lockers.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, no one decorated it, because the full door of the locker was the opening grid holes, so you couldn't even try to put something on it. And then again, it's so small, all of your class books, basically you're trying to Tetris into that freaking small box.
At least you had the option. We all had these massive backpacks that had all of our freaking textbooks for the day. And granted,
that's probably what exasperated my back problems.
Oh, for sure. We had our class structure a little bit different because normal high school, you go to all 7 periods in one day. We did not do that.
Oh, you had
we were on
blocking.
Block scheduling, right? So our classes were longer but fewer, so that way we didn't have to carry as many books, which would justify them not putting any lockers, because that's an expense that the school they could have saved. So it is a bummer. I did hear too that, and I don't know if this is your experience, but in some schools they had people share lockers.
No, we didn't have to share lockers. We did it by choice. It was me, my 2 guy best friend, 3 at the time, and they were seniors. Was I a freshman or was I already a sophomore? And so
one of the two.
I mean, they were boys. They didn't care. They were ready to leave. So they barely had books, but the few they had, because they were so little, they're like, I'm just gonna put it in your locker. So we shared the tiny locker, which meant I sacrificed and carried more of my books to share with them. Again, back problems. Ooh, okay, lunchroom. Also, like, none of it was like what we saw in the movies. None of it. And then gym was definitely not at all what you saw. Like, the whole high school experience, even the friends groups, even though to a certain extent there probably were cliques,
for sure, yeah,
and popular people, but I guess this is the difference. We had such a large school with too many students that I think there were too many for those like dividing groups to have such an influence.
Yes, agreed.
So in a way, that I'm grateful for, actually. Hindsight, being an adult, going, oh God, thank God it wasn't like this really niche, small, cliquish high school situation, because, kids suck to other kids.
Yeah, honestly, the bullying, as far as I knew, because I wasn't a popular kid, but as far as I knew, it wasn't really bad in our school. Again, there were a lot of kids in the school. They were just kind of hanging out with their friends, doing their own thing. I think each grade had like a popular group or
probably.
Yeah, like weirdly, my school kind of followed the cliche of cheerleaders and jocks being the more popular ones, but at the same time, no one really cared. People knew them, they knew had a lot of friends and stuff, but nobody was like worshiping the ground. All of those stereotypes were not as exaggerated as you see them. There was no mean girl who like ran the whole school. There was no one jock that like every girl was gaga over, but we did have a lot of students, and so I think it would, like you said, it would be really hard to have that kind of influence. And then each grade is kind of doing their own thing. Like not all the seniors are associating with the underclassmen and vice versa. When I became a senior, it's not that I didn't want to associate with underclassmen, I didn't know any of them, and I really wasn't looking to make new friends, so we just didn't associate.
And to your point, because imagine how large our classes and schools were. Now imagine putting all those students in hallways and you're rushing with 5 minutes to run to your next class.
This
There's no time to stop and integrate
this whole euphoria. I have the entire fucking hallway to do my, queen bee on in the middle and her two little minions, and you're doing like a catwalk. No,
you're in New York streets going boom boom.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
Exactly. The lunchrooms I felt were similar to what you see. They just weren't as pretty. They weren't as pretty.
That I would say, yeah, true.
And like with movies, you're not gonna have fluorescent lighting like you would in actual schools. That just makes everybody look terrible. The food was always 10 times worse than what you see.
God, oh.
Yeah,
you're eating plastic cardboard.
Yeah.
With various flavor maskings.
Yeah. And what is with all of this, like, here's a bowl of Jell-O, here's an apple, here's a what?
Milk carton. No. Here's a little carton of milk.
Have you ever seen a TV dinner? That's what it looks like. And each little compartment, you have like 3 little kernels of corn. You have a pizza that looks like the cheese has just been congealed on there for like a century. Yeah. You have a tiny carton like this much of chocolate milk or something. That's it. Like I don't know where this apple and this Jell-O bowl and all of this other stuff came from. Like weird
bowls, period. Bowls?
Yeah, bowls. What is that? We had TV dinner trays and sporks. Yep. That's what we had, and cartons of milk.
Oh my god.
The biggest one for me that like, oh man, was such a disappointment because I never really thought, based on my middle school and elementary school experience, that high school was going to look any differently as far as like the aesthetic of the building and everything. And I kind of came to terms with the fact that like I'll probably never have a locker, which is a little bit of like diminishing the individuality because you kind of decorating your locker is a personality thing. It's the dress code because
not where I thought you were going.
I'm interested to see where you think I was going. The dress code, seeing what girls in particular wore in shows versus, and mind you, this is pre-Euphoria. So
oh my God,
that is so beyond unrealistic. I mean, the fact that they're wearing pretty much bras and these tiny little skirts.
I'm like, where is the teacher and the administration who's like stopping and going, girl?
What? I'm like, what country is this in? Because it's certainly not in the U.S. Like if you have a skirt that is not at your fingertips, which is usually pretty much right above your knee, you had to go home and shorts. You had to change.
Even your shorts had to be below your fingertips.
Yeah. And so in middle school I had uniforms, so I was very excited to go to high school and finally get to wear my own clothes. And you still had to kind of abide by the rules. And I had this thing of like, this was in the day when we've talked about this in a previous episode of the 90s episode. It was like very early 2000s, very Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera. I was still holding on to a little of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen because I always loved their little fashion sense that they had in all their movies. But I think too, man, I didn't shop at the stores that had a lot of and then what celebrities were doing, what was in trend, wasn't necessarily what was in trend in Miami at the time. It was a lot of, for the students that were white, it was a lot of Abercrombie and Hollister.
Oh my gosh.
For all the Hispanic students, it was a lot of like, oh, my Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton was like the biggest brand in all of Miami. I don't know why, because they only ever had the stuff that had like the Louis Vuitton logos on it. And I was like, this looks ugly. Why do you want to carry this around?
Busy. I'm like, no.
Yeah, so I think the fashion is probably what disappointed me the most because I liked to dress up, especially when I was younger, but everybody was just wearing flared jeans and like a Hollister t-shirt, and that was kind of the vibe.
Sneakers. Here's the thing, also considering like I'm putting at myself, morning people, the fact of being awake long enough to be head to toe like on it and still make it to the bus and still be at school by 7:30 was not a thing. I mean, I had the rare occasions. Well, I will say this, I've always been my rule has always been from the neck up. I'll look good from the neck up, and then screw everything else. As long as from the neck up I look presentable, I can make it work. So I was a hair and makeup girly. But I could do that in really fast time. And then pretty much it was just comfort clothes, really, from there on out, because I'm half asleep and I have to go to school and my brain wasn't functioning yet.
Girl, I was lucky if I could get neck up anything. Because first of all, I had so many terrible haircuts. And then you have to grow out those haircuts. And so I have pictures where I'm in the process of growing out a haircut and just so happens to be around the picture day time.
Oh, yeah.
Because I never remembered when picture day was coming.
No, same.
And they would always tell you like a couple weeks in advance. And I'm like, well, I have a mullet. Just gonna have to deal with that. I also never knew what to do with myself with makeup. And then my mom didn't really get me makeup. She wasn't really like keen on me wearing makeup. And I mean, I couldn't even shave my legs until high school. So.
Oh, God.
I really didn't do a lot with makeup. I was very fortunate I didn't struggle with acne because my self-esteem was already pretty low back then. If I had to also deal with acne on top of that, oh man, it would have been a nightmare. So I took a lot of pride in my outfits because I was a body girl. Like I was thin, big boobs, but I didn't have a lot of confidence here. This is where my confidence was lacking. So I focused more on the body than I did on the face. And also because I didn't have the resources, I had a blow dryer at home, but it didn't have a nozzle. So you can imagine what that looks like. Yes. Yeah.
The control to keep the frizz down.
Exactly. I would love going to the salon because they would always give me a really good blowout, but it didn't really last very long with my hair because it just takes one night of like sweating.
Stuck in Florida, so
yeah, it just takes me stepping outside and my hair is already starting to like curl and do its frizzy thing. And then I didn't have any makeup to wear. And so I couldn't really experiment with that or do anything fun with that. So I kind of had no choice but to focus more on the neck down. But I feel like that's interesting because you were a neck up girl.
Well, now it makes
I was
sense
a neck down
because I did struggle with my self-esteem from the neck down of my body because I was overdeveloped from all of my like really thin prepubescent body peers, and I already had boobs in 3rd grade. So my body was more womanly, but I thought I was just heavy, and I wasn't. My body had developed quicker than my peers. So I was very
quick.
Yeah, so I was very self-conscious of my body. Now that you say it, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why I focused on the neck up.
Yeah, and also I look back on shows like Laguna Beach, which was a more realistic depiction of like, man, it was, I said this in previous episodes, it was so bad. I'm like, these people have nothing to say to each other. But the way that they dressed was very casual. It was very like just jeans and a t-shirt. They put their hair up in a messy bun. It was kind of the look to not do too much and be more casual, I guess you could say.
But you still had to look good. It was like supposed to look effortless, and usually was, but you still had to look good in that casual aesthetic.
Yeah, if you had their hair texture, it would be. If you had their body type, their hair texture, then it was real effortless for you. But it's like that no makeup look.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of makeup on, but to other people, it's supposed to look like, I just woke up.
Rolled out of bed like this.
Exactly. That was kind of the same vibe. But moving on to another one, my biggest one, and this is not the wild card one, this is just the more obvious one, was romantic relationships.
Oh my God.
Now, granted, friendships also came off as being quite unrealistic.
Yes. Yeah.
And sometimes even toxic. And a lot of that we didn't see until we were adults looking back at some of the shows that we've watched, and we're like, wow, that person was a terrible person, but she was like the main character of the show. A lot of people talk about it with like Sex and the City with Carrie. And there's other shows that focused on like one character and like everything was happening around, and she had a group of girlfriends, but she was always like not a good friend to them, even though she was the main character and we're supposed to be rooting for her. The thing that fucked me up was a lot of the tropes that we now love about romance and fiction, which is like the bad boy with the heart of gold.
Oh God.
And he only has eyes for you, and you're the only one that can tame him.
fiction.
Yes,
Which we
girl.
didn't know. We expected certain things to translate to real life from movies. And
Yeah.
yeah, that was definitely not the case. I mean, even just how
No.
they talked to each other.
No, and it taught us that if we love a boy hard enough, if we're
Mm,
just there for him and we can, pull out his trauma and help him heal it, that he's going to change. And a lot of women grew up with this concept way into adulthood
hmm
that if you love someone enough, they will change. And that is not the case
And
at all.
and then funny enough, I mean, if you really think back,
Mhm.
high school relationships were like 2 weeks. If you were lucky, 2 months. And then they or you moved on to someone new. And without even thinking about it, because it was just the nature of being young and being
Yeah.
still like teenagers and stuff. So, even more so, like the whole forever aspect of
Mhm.
movies, showing these young teens having this forever relationship and these romantic moments. I mean, I will even say kissing in the rain is so romantic in movies. Doesn't happen the same in real life.
No.
Especially.
Especially not in Miami where it's like a torrential downpour. It's not even like a light rain. It's just like you're in a tsunami. Like, no, a monsoon. You're in a
Yes.
fucking monsoon.
Then no one prepares you for the textured hair situation you're going to have
Uh
in
huh.
20 minutes, and you're not going to look cute anymore.
Not at all. Not to mention the non waterproof mascara running down your face. You're like, do I look beautiful now?
You want to kiss me again?
It's so true. First of all, kids in like dating
Hmm.
in because like a lot of these mentalities we had when we were younger, like as
Yeah.
you get older you realize this is not
Oh,
this is not real life, but a lot of the people our age that we were watching on TV never had any curfews.
no.
They always had cars because
Yeah.
I didn't have a car until I was much older,
I am
like
May 19.
yeah, exactly, they always had cars and the cars were always like brand new.
Yeah. At
They
16.
Yeah, exactly. Like they always had like these places to go and things to do. I'm like, we were always at the mall. Like that was our generation's
That's it.
thing is like we would go walk around the mall, we'd go to the food court, we would go to the
Maybe if we,
movies.
yep.
But yeah, it was very unrealistic. And mind you, it's probably the difference between growing up in a city versus growing up in a more
Mm.
natural, not necessarily rural area, but like people would go to the park and they'd have a picnic. So, like that really wasn't a reality for us. And Miami, despite what people like to say, is not that pretty
No.
except the beach. That's
Yeah.
the only part
And
of Miami
every,
that's pretty.
and not every beach.
No, not every beach is pretty. So at least we had that. Like, I do feel very fortunate that we got to grow up near the beach.
Mm.
But yeah, like, we didn't have these rolling green hills that,
No.
yeah,
Not
and
at
people
all.
riding their bikes around and stuff
Uh,
like that. Like, as a kid, I did, like, in our
yeah, more.
complex.
Yeah, exactly. I would say more elementary, middle in the complex. I
Yeah.
would see kids of those ages with bikes around. There was a very adult, and now that we're older, it's because we saw actual adults were playing teenagers in these movies.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I'm like, how come the boys don't look like this
The
that
boys
are our
do not
age?
look at all the way I expected. But kind of like in connection to that expectation,
Yeah.
the one I was going to bring up that also was super disappointing when I had my first experience of it, college. I attended both a community college and a university, but I was auditioning for the theater program at the university.
Hmm.
They look nothing like the ones on TV are again
Again,
the
historic colleges versus these,
utilitarian
yes.
buildings, sad
Exactly.
gray building blocks. It's like Minecraft, a
Yeah.
bunch of squares, and just sad hallways.
Yeah, because
And
we went to the same community college,
yes,
different times, of
that
course.
one, that community college is one of the most depressing buildings in the world because not
It
only
really
was
was.
it was a dark gray and
Yeah.
there's very little lighting inside.
It's true. Even though it was like an outdoor type of college, like it wasn't fully encapsulated it still didn't, for whatever reason, let in a lot of natural light. It might have been because of the trees and the
And there
plants
was
and
a
stuff
lack of
like that.
windows. There was a lack of windows from where
Oh,
like
like
it
within
was.
the classrooms? Yeah.
Well, no, and even because remember there was like some, like you said, it wasn't fully encapsulated, but there would be these hall areas that
Yeah.
were mostly covered. Like
Yeah.
back here, there's the opening, but there was a section that was mostly covered, and then you pop out again to an open area. It's like those sections. I was like, why didn't you guys light them well?
No, not
Assuming that they're
yeah.
outside, so it was like, oh, you don't need extra lighting.
Yeah. And then the seats, all of it were
Oh
just
God, the classes were just horrible.
the
The classes,
tiny little tables that used to.
yes, and it looked like they were renting the building because like the classrooms were so like we just literally tossed a bunch of school desks in here
Mm-hmm.
for you guys to meet up real quick at 1 o'clock because the rooms were just like vacant. It was sad.
Yeah. Man, oh, it's so true. It's sad that we didn't get that, like, because I visited. So, my ex boyfriend, he took me to his college town where we ended up living together there for a while, and his campus was beautiful, like,
Oh,
very quintessential
oh,
college experience. I didn't go inside any of the buildings, so I don't know what inside the buildings were, but
mm,
the outside were like cobblestone. You had these big
wow.
courtyards that were like green and beautiful with all these old trees. Even Nick, my husband, for those that are listening or watching, his community college that he went to in his small town, because he ended up going to Kansas City Art School.
Mm.
And that was more of like what we experienced. But his community college, not even regular, was beautiful. The campus was beautiful
What?
too. I was like, how? But it's like, I have to remember that a lot of these small towns, they're not doing as many construction
Mm.
upgrades as like we probably had old colleges at one point, and then they were like, no, wipe them out, put on these new boring ass things because it's more efficient, or because we want
Mm.
to be more modern, or whatever the situation is, because it's like Florida's been around. It's not like
Mhm.
Miami's a brand new city.
No.
Why don't we have more historic buildings? I'm sure in other places in Florida they have other like historic colleges, but it was disappointing when I was walking on those campuses. I was like, man, this could have been, because I went to community college and then I finished my degree online with
Mm.
Arizona State University, which I don't tell a lot of people, because doing online college, even if it's at a legit
Mm.
physical university that people go
Yeah.
to, you might as well tell them you went to DeVry or like something like that, because they act like I
Yeah,
did the classes.
yeah. Got your
But
damn degree.
one of the wild card ones that I wanted to
Mm.
bring up was, oh god, this is one I think that gets on my nerves just because it puts this very unrealistic expectation on women, but it's the
Mm.
manic pixie girl fantasy.
Oh, interesting.
The
Okay,
girl
okay.
that most likely has some sort of illness, but they're romanticizing it and making it seem like it's beautiful and romantic. I think of Kirsten Dunst in that Crazy Beautiful movie.
Yes, I do remember that. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
the manic pixie girl, and
Hmm.
it's goes hand in hand with the girl who's really quirky.
Oh, yes.
It
Yes.
very much goes hand in hand with that, but there's something about her, because she's so, with the manic pixie girl, she's so wild and free, and she's got this short choppy hair because she just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't care. She doesn't wear any makeup. She's just
Mm-hmm.
naturally beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She takes her shoes off and does twirls, and she's like, join
Oh
me,
my,
live.
oh my God, yes.
And the guy like so falls in love with that.
Yep.
And you're like, I don't know a single woman who is like this.
Never met one. Never. And I've met all variations of like people from city folk,
Yes.
small town folk, other country folks. I mean, I will say, the closest I experienced that was when I did live in Missouri. I had a roommate. She was from Norway.
Mm.
She had long blonde hair, but she did give off that energy a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but never to the extent of what you see on TV at all. Like not even a
Plus,
little.
if the girl is actually manic, she's
Yeah.
bipolar. That's not fun. Like, trust
No.
me. Real life bipolar relationships,
There's a
they're
lot.
very volatile. Like,
Yeah. There's a lot going on in their mind that they can't like pinpoint, and
very high highs, very low
yeah,
lows, and
exactly.
you're along for the ride and all of that. So the way that they romanticized it though is that she's
Yeah.
just like this free, I don't care what anybody thinks about me, which granted, I've met people who they really didn't give a shit what other people thought about them. I thought that was really admirable, but I never met a girl that fit this stereotype. And I've met quirky girls.
Yeah, same.
Like that stereotype, I'm like, okay, that exists in nature, in the wild.
In nature.
But this manic pixie girl that is supposed to save you and give you purpose, and then she dies at the end. You know, like,
God, yes.
Sweet November. Perfect example with Charlize Theron and Keanu Reeves.
Yep. Yes.
That kind of girl.
Exactly. Oh, I remember that movie.
With
wow.
She had the really short pixie cut.
Yeah.
She was very free and carefree and
Like
all the while she's dying.
Loose bohemian like clothes and yep. But she came to change your life and then leave it. Literally.
Yeah. She came to change you because you were a cold-hearted businessman who never knew love in his life. And somehow she made you feel for the first time ever. And then she breaks your heart by dying.
And now you got to put yourself back together again.
Yeah. It's just because that was like, and I don't know if this is still a thing because I feel like that stereotype or that type of girl was very prevalent in the 90s.
Very 90s, yes.
Because even, okay, good example of this, Elizabethtown, another Kirsten Dunst movie with Orlando Bloom.
Whoa.
His father dies and she is a flight attendant and he's supposed to take his father's ashes on this cross-country trip. And remember that thing that she did? I'll show you if you don't remember. She would do this.
Yes.
And then she'd like take a picture of the person. I was like, nobody does that. And then she'd always show up at these moments in his journey to like be his, basically like his little fairy godmother almost, but like in a romantic way.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, stop it with these characters. Because then you have these guys who are like, it's the same thing that we experience with the bad boy, but on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yes.
Here are these girls that are going to rescue me. Exactly. They're going to teach me how to love. Yep. And they're going to rescue me with their carefree spirit. And no. It doesn't exist.
And if you find anything remotely like it, it ends up toxic and fucking you over more, actually, where you end up being closed off to properly treating women well because you're so wounded and jaded.
That brings me to another one, but if you have one, it's your turn.
Oh,
you have another one.
No, I think the other one I was thinking of for me personally was a simple one, which was, I remember watching movies where the main character would travel, and even traveling within the country, I remember before I started actually traveling on planes and things like that, I had this whole notion that it was going to be such a fun, cool experience. You were going to feel alive. And if anything, I felt impending doom to die and anxiety and uncomfortable chairs and horrible, like, trays that don't properly lay flat for you to put crappy food on. And there was
why? Because they're always showing international planes, which are bigger. They're the ones that have the 3 aisles, and they're always showing fucking first class. Like, who's going, like, the average person is not shelling that. Like, this is a girl from a small town and she's going to Paris for the first time. Exactly. I was like, out of here.
She's even going to California and she's in first class. Like,
and it looks like an international flight, right? Because why would they want to show the reality? Because they know how bleak it is.
Exactly.
Just even the experience of going through the airport.
Yeah.
It's shown as being such an adventure when really it's anxiety inducing.
My God, from like beginning to end, it's just a stress ball fest the entire way. It's not a fun experience at all. And I can go on a bunch of little things. I'm like,
No, but to continue in your same vein and to tack on to what you were saying, when they show movies where they travel internationally, especially somewhere over in Europe, even when there's mishaps and misfortunes, it always is gorgeous. Wherever they're staying is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's just this little cottage out in the country in the vineyard. And I'm like, this is like a mansion.
Exactly.
Like, this is not what a hostel looks like for real travelers. Exactly. We're talking bunk beds. We're talking like critters crawling on the walls and stuff like that.
No air conditioning. Like,
yeah, and it's not just like this beautiful little glisten on your chest. You're like it's the thing. It's like that movie we watched on Netflix with the girl from Vampire Diaries that played Bonnie.
Oh, Bonnie, yes.
She had to share the Airbnb with the guy, and there was no air conditioning. The Airbnb was beautiful.
Yes.
It was gorgeous. And the main character, the male protagonist, his fiance, she turned her nose up at it like, ugh, this is such trash. I'm like, this is gorgeous.
Girl, you see the freaking balcony that leads to a gorgeous courtyard with a statue and cobblestone? Shut up.
That's another thing. How they portray poverty in movies, they portray like this shitty little apartment in New York, I'm like, this is great. What are you talking about? Especially the way that they decorate it.
Cost you at least $2,000 a month.
Yeah, especially the way they portray it. They have this like beautiful retro fridge going on. They have like all of this DIY like art on the wall, but it just works because really you had a props master decorator come and completely do this set. But this is supposed to be a shitty apartment.
Exactly. It has like a very nice, unique layout and like little pop outs and things. Like, I'm like,
way more space than you would ever have in a shitty apartment in New York. Like, a shitty apartment in New York would be like a shoebox. Like, literally. You would be sleeping next to your stove. Exactly. You know, like, let's be honest.
What movie was it that I saw? I remember her shitty apartment. The bed was on an elevated platform. Right. That you go up 3 steps. And then,
I'm like, what bed? What bed? It's like, girl. You get into that apartment, it's empty. There ain't no furniture.
And the fact that the layout was, it's an elevated, like you literally have to, if you put the bed on there, you're going up 2-3 steps, and that's like the bed area. And then I'm like, and that was the shitty small apartment. Right.
I was like, I'd be happy with that. What are you talking about?
It looked fantastic.
No, and there's this like Instagram account that he purposely goes around and shows you different empty apartments in New York. Some of them are really nice. Some of them are really tiny. But they're all at, to my opinion, an extravagant price point, especially the really nice ones. I mean, we're talking double digits, thousands of dollars per month.
Yeah.
And the smaller ones, the ones that I'm like, how could anyone live like this? Just to be in New York, don't get me wrong, I have never been in New York, so I can't really judge it, but I'm just kind of like,
I can. I was born there, and I went back when I was older. I will say.
Yeah.
That's another one we can tack on, which is what movies romanticize. New York. New York takes a very specific personality type to see the beauty in it, because you are not there for the apartments. You are not there you are there for the energy of the busy hustle, and you like the tough, busy hustle, because it is very difficult. People are not friendly. People are very much out on their own. If you're in their way, they will happily toss you in front of a bus so they can get to work on time. They don't give a shit about you. I mean, the fact that when I went and we were crossing the streets, and there's so many people crossing at the same time, that they're all bumping into you. No one gives a shit. And I wasn't raised in New York, so my little polite ass is like, oh, sorry. The dirty looks I got for apologizing when you bumped into me,
they're like, oh, she ain't from here.
Exactly. It's a very interesting, oh my God, the hotel. We had an expensive ass hotel room that my mother had the company paying for. Heather, it was these tiny. And it was one of the most expensive hotels in Manhattan. The bathroom, these tiny. It was so tiny. The shower head doesn't face Okay, the long part of a tub, right? The shower head faces towards the long part of the tub. No, in New York, it faced the short part of the tub, meaning it could easily...
Like towards the curtain?
Yes, yes!
No.
And then literally, like, to walk in front of the bed to get to the other side of the room, you're scooting. And this was one of the most expensive. Our breakfast cost $63, just to let you know.
Yeah, see, no. And then I've heard, yes, okay, so like I'm from Massachusetts. I know how East Coast people are. I am very East Coast myself. Like,
yeah, I love the East Coast. I'm an East Coast girl.
Yeah, we're not nice, but we are kind. Meaning we won't fuck around with pleasantries or being fake nice or anything like that. But if you really need help, somebody will be there to help you.
Yeah.
Like, not everybody, obviously, but like that's kind of the vibe of the East Coast. However, it's not even so much that. It's like it's super dirty. It stinks.
Yes.
And yeah, there's a lot to do there. I'm not a people person. Like, I like my little group of people, my little sphere. I don't really like the public, like just strangers. So I'm not gonna go to one of the most populated cities. And mind you, we both were raised in Miami. We weren't born there, but we were raised there from the time that I was 6. How old were you?
Same, 6.
Okay, so I know what it's like to live in a big city. I know what it's like to live in an overcrowded city. And maybe it's because we grew up in a bigger city that we're just not so enamored with it.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that Miami is really comparable to New York, because I feel like there's so much more to do in New York than there is to do in Miami.
Yes.
But it's just, there's too many people, there's too many smells, there's too many sights.
And like, again, I want to preface and say, because I know the defense of New York.
This is personal preference.
Yes, this is personal preference. But remember how I said New York is for a specific type of personality. And New York is it's very much about, you need to earn their respect. And then if you're the type of person who's earned the respect of a New Yorker, they'll be your ride or die. But it's hard. You have to be that person if you're naturally not.
Yeah.
So you have to be a very specific type of person to thrive in New York.
Yeah, it's fair. I always had this concept of San Francisco because of watching Full House back in the day.
Yes.
And then my husband was telling me how freaking terrible it is and how gentrified it is because of tech companies. And he was in this really expensive apartment building that it was very difficult to find any housing in San Francisco, first of all. And then when you did find housing, it was usually very much like New York, small, but very expensive. And he was like, I'm in this high-rise apartment building, and like I look down and there's somebody just taking a shit on the street.
What?
He said that he would often see people masturbating, urinating, defecating, and also there were needles everywhere because of the fentanyl issue.
Wow.
He would walk everywhere and he would say, and this is like, he purposely lived near the tech company that he worked for. So that there's really no separation. This spills over everywhere, where he said that he would walk over, like he'd step over syringes, just use syringes that were left on the street. He said this one homeless woman called him over. Being the person that he is, he had a conversation with her. She asked for a hug. And he was like, okay, sure. Like, everybody needs comfort or whatever. And he goes to hug. She kissed him on the mouth.
Oh, God.
A complete stranger kissed him on the mouth without his permission.
No,
He's
absolutely
like,
not.
I'll never do that again.
No.
So it's very, I was like shocked when he told me.
Movies did not show any of that for sure.
Well, and I'm sure that at one point it was different, like in the early 90s. I mean, we're talking decades ago. It could have changed very dramatically, especially because of the fentanyl epidemic in California. I mean, everywhere really, but it's very bad in California, and it's now starting to reach its way up to like Oregon and Washington. Yeah. And it's really, really sad. It's sad to see so much of that. And it's such a problem that when San Francisco has like a big event, like maybe a sporting event or a concert, they'll literally round up the homeless population and ship them for one night to a different location. Yeah. Just to appear, for all the people coming and visiting for tourism's sake, just to appear as though the city is different than what it actually is on a daily basis. So it kind of keeps up this false pretense of what it looks like.
Expectation versus reality. Goodness.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like, and I still kind of see this a lot in movies, and we've talked about this at length in the episode when we were talking about things we don't really like in books. It's these really unlikable characters that we're supposed to root for. These really unlikable people. Because I'm just like, there's no way in hell. And granted, we encounter toxic people in real life all the time. It's not an issue of whether they're toxic or not. It's the amount of shit that they're able to get away with, or like the fact that we are supposed to be rooting for them. Like the story is about them and they get a happy ending or they get redemption at some point, and you're like, no. Like, no, this is not. No, this is a real life person. She would have lost all her friends. She likely would have stayed a shitty, bitter person. Nobody would, you know what I mean? It makes this unrealistic expectation that you can just be a shitty person and there's always going to be people around to tolerate you or to root for you. I feel like some movies actually promote toxicity rather than condemn it, if that makes sense. It goes hand in hand with what I said about romance and the bad boy who has a heart of gold. It's just toxic people. That's it.
And the thing
we shouldn't be loving them. We shouldn't be. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, she was ready to go on a rant. No, and the thing is that of course, more times than not, it's when we're younger watching these things, because it's harder with like contemporary stuff, because it's easy to write off anything fantasy, sci-fi as, oh, that's just not real and whatever. But growing up, when you watch normal everyday circumstances and they're romanticized the way that they are in movies, it's a hard pill when you get slapped with the reality that this is not how it works.
And I know that there's a suspension of disbelief that happens with movies. I get it. Like, even in horror, there are certain things where I'm like, there's actions that people take that I'm just like, nobody in real life would have done that. Knowing what we know about certain things, like let's go take a shortcut through the woods. Nobody's doing that. Especially like in a location we've never been. We don't know anybody. We don't have a compass. We don't have a cell phone with reception. No, it's some of the choices that get made that you're just kind of like, this is just not real life. Same thing with like, why is it, God, totally unrelated, but like one of my biggest pet peeves this movie is like, has become like, why is it so fucking dark? Why does nobody turn on a light? You're just sitting in the dark having a conversation. And I'm like, I have never, ever been in somebody's house sitting in the dark with this tiny like police interrogation light above you that's just illuminating just your face, and you're having this conversation, and I'm like, so nobody's gonna switch on a light? Like, this is how normal, because you know, ambiance. You're creating the lighting that you want to affect a certain mood.
The director of photography specifically wanted to just highlight the faces to create this emotional depth. It's not realistic.
It's gotten too far though, because now I'm watching movies and I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, do you see the person in the room? It's so freaking dark. Sorry, that was like a side rant that had nothing at all to do.
She had to get that out, guys.
I did. I had to get that out. But yeah, that's pretty much sums up all of mine.
Yeah, it was a fun topic because, again, like we said earlier, obviously you grow up and you learn that life is a lot different to any type of media we consume, and accepting books too, absolutely. I mean, when you're an adult, you realize and you become able to know better, but when you're younger and you grow up watching these things, it's really interesting because we don't realize how much of it formulates our expectations for life experiences until we're old enough to start having them, and they just aren't at all what we expected. And then we've talked about this in previous episodes, how we're also just not properly prepared for adulthood, because no one properly teaches us about things. So not only were we just relying on movies to kind of prepare us for life, then we experience life and go, wait, So the only source I had was actually wrong.
Yeah.
And then you're thrown off to the wolves to figure it out.
Say I have had a very few, like I can count them probably on one hand, movie moments in real life. I had a kiss in a public water fountain that was pretty amazing.
Ooh.
That moment was amazing. The thereafter was a nightmare,
Yeah.
but the moment itself was amazing. And I think that sometimes you do have to kind of separate that and just take the moments for what they are. I was able to separate this moment from this person and not let what happened after with that person completely ruin this beautiful moment that I had that was very right out of a movie. I was drunk. He dared me to get into the fountain. I did. Literally, he came in after me. We were both laughing, and then very unexpectedly, he kissed me. But all that to say, it's like there are moments in life. It just obviously movies are meant to create a certain atmosphere. I will say, to your point, that yes, while we do outgrow a lot of these ideas of what things are supposed to look like based off of books, movies, other media, some of it is subconscious and some of it is really hard to unlearn, especially when it comes, for me at least, when it came to romantic relationships, that was very difficult to unlearn. I had to hit my head up against that wall quite a few times before I realized, like, this is not, I'm never gonna have that moment with a man where I turn his life around. He loves me so much that he changes. And that was a little bit sad for me because I'm like, but aren't I worth it? And granted, now being married, I'm like, oh, it's so much better to find someone who's already well adjusted. But when you're younger, I would have looked, if I was younger and I was very steeped into that mentality and I looked at my husband, I would have looked at him as somebody who was boring. There's no spark, there's no blah blah blah, because I was unhealed.
Exactly.
And because I liked the drama and the toxicity and I wasn't through with it yet. So I'm glad I met my husband when I did because it was the right time, and I definitely would have passed him up for some idiot. And that's really sad that so many women have to go through that because it's still something that's being perpetuated in media now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And unfortunately, whereas we who have life experience and many disappointments to learn from, you have a lot of young girls who are just getting into their first, second, third relationships who are still holding on to a lot of these same romantic tropes that just they never will translate in life. And I promise you, if you know somebody who has that story, it is 1 in a million.
It really is.
Do not compare yourself.
Dude, I mean, it's a nice notion to think maybe I can be 1 in a million too. But then you're setting yourself up for constant failure, sabotage, and heartbreak. Because at the end of the day, for example, Heather's desire to like be loved so greatly by a man he changes for her. Notice how she then turned it around thinking, but aren't I worthy? Like if it was her fault,
exactly,
she didn't change. And that's usually how women and young girls feel, is that they couldn't change the wild bad boy, so it must have been that they were not good enough to change them, and that is not the case.
But that's how, because it's portrayed that way, as you are the girl that gets chosen. You are the even in books, you're the only one that can tame his wild spirit. You are not Gigi, and he's just not that into you. You are not the exception. You are the rule. Always don't listen to that shit.
It's fun to read, it's fun to watch, but it is not real life and healthy adult relationships at all.
At all. And I think I've had definitely my fair share of emotionally unavailable,
most women have
wild motorcycle riding bad boys to know. And granted, the stereotypes don't always fit. You have some very well adjusted, very responsible, stable, tattooed motorcycle guys out there. They were just far and few between. Anyways, friends, this was really fun. We definitely probably missed a bunch of different topics or subjects. So please share with us on Instagram, on TikTok, on any of the podcasting platforms, and on YouTube. Anywhere there's a comments section, pretty much, where you can find us. please share with us, what are your things that you found were unrealistic that you expected because of movies? Specifically movies, but we will accept any media just because we like hearing from you guys and we want to see what you guys think of this, or if you can relate to anything that we've mentioned in this episode. I know a lot of women can. Let's go and commiserate in the comment section.
Okay, friends, so be sure to like, subscribe, do all of the fun internet things. If you are listening to us on a podcast platform, guys, do us a favor. Leave us a review. That does great things for the algorithm so that other people who would like our content can also find us. As you can tell, there's always fun times to be had here. Anyways. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.